What's up, everybody? Michael Walsh here. So Dominic Reyes is fighting Olberg this weekend, and it got me thinking because if he can win, I think he's probably going to get a title shot. And especially if he can win in exciting fashion. That might be a knockout, might be like getting fight of the night, whatever. But at that point, he'll be on a decent win streak, and he'll have beaten Olberg, who is on an 8-fight win streak and is ranked number 3. So beating that guy, I think it's reasonable that would earn you a title shot. And he might need to sit out a little bit, like maybe Jiri gets the shot first or something, and Reyes sits out for 6 months, 8 months, whatever. But if he's in that situation, I'd say it's worth doing, and I think that is what will happen if he wins. And if he can do that, if he can get that title shot, and if he can win the belt at this point in his career, that might be the most feel-good story that we've just ever seen in the sport. Because it would remind me of like elements of other people's careers, but in this unique mix, this unique cocktail that we've never quite seen before. Because, and bear in mind, I'm not picking this to happen. Like, I'm not predicting that he will beat Olberg and then beat Ankalaev or whoever. But if he can, and he's got a shot, if he can, that would remind me of like a combination of Michael Bisping, Cody Garbrandt, and Chris Weidman. Now, he's comparable to Weidman because earlier on, they were both in a very similar spot. They were these young, undefeated contenders. They weren't too experienced, but they were very talented. They both take on this all-time GOAT who's like a long-reigning champion. And they both kind of beat him. You know, Weidman finishes Silva, beats him in a rematch. Most people, myself included, think Reyes beats Jones. Unfortunately, the judges don't see it that way, so it's a loss. He never officially wins the belt. He's never been a champion. And so that's kind of where the comparison ends, because Weidman goes on to defend the belt a few times, and he never quite lived up to, you know, what a lot of us thought was his own potential, but he was still a great champion, and he's still one of the best middleweights ever. But this is kind of where he's more, you know, Reyes reminds me more of Cody Garbrandt, because Garbrandt has this just, like, breakout performance against Dominic Cruz, and then it's largely just downhill from there. You know, he loses twice to Dillashaw, he loses to Munoz. He's just got like this checkered win-loss record since then. He's getting knocked out a lot. And it's just looking like he'll never reclaim that glory. And that's how it was looking like for Reyes. You know, he has this amazing, arguable win against Jones, and then he gets knocked out 3 times in a row. You know, and he's taking these long breaks, these long stretches of time where he's not fighting. And it was looking like it was just going to be that, except he wasn't even going to be able to claim he was the champion. However, he's showing a turnaround that we've not seen from Garbrandt. And that's where it would remind me more of Michael Bisping. You know, Michael Bisping rose to a decent status as a contender, never became the number 1 contender, never fought for the belt. You know, went from a guy who almost never lost to starting to get these like alternating win-losses, you know, where he's losing to Tim Kennedy, he's losing to Luke Rockhold the first time, stuff like that. And he was getting older and it wasn't looking good. But then all of a sudden he puts this win streak together. You know, he's beating Leites, he's beating Silva, and then he gets this short notice fight against Rockhold, which everyone's picking against him, but boom, he knocks him out, becomes the champion. And so that's where, like, if Reyes can do this, if Reyes can have this like undefeated, you know, shot at the champion, he arguably beats him, so he kind of gets that credit that like Chris Weidman got, except he gets robbed of it from the judges, so he never actually wins the belt, and then he just plummets off a cliff the way Cody Garbrandt did, and we're all like, ah, shit, and he never even won the belt. But then he has this, you know, career turnaround and this, like, late in the game title shot and victory, like, a la Michael Bisping. Again, I don't know that there's a better feel-good story in the whole sport. And I'm not even like a huge Weidman fan. Like, I wasn't a huge fan of him in the come-up. I haven't been a huge fan of him since. I got nothing against the guy. It's just that neither his personality nor his fighting style are that electric to me. So, you know, I've never like really cheered against him or anything other than when he fought Jiri, because I love Jiri. But like, but even I, who am pretty lukewarm on the guy, I'm pretty neutral as far as giving a shit about his career. If that could happen, I would be very moved. Like, I would be, you know, shedding manly tears in response to that one. So I'm pulling for him this weekend. Like, I definitely would like to see that. I'd much rather see that than just see Olberg, you know, get a knockout or something and derail this hype, derail this hope. So fingers crossed.